He's on the line now. Mike, I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're busy as all get out. I've already set the stage. If they could do it to Trump, they could do it to anybody. You and I agreed the best case scenario was a hung jury. I don't think anybody who's got a brain thought that he was not going to be convicted of something. But what are the ramifications beyond what we thought immediately when we saw this today, Mike?
Well, I mean, here's the deal. You were talking about, I thought that the jurors had to unanimously agree on the case, and that's exactly right. And the Supreme Court in 2020 just issued an opinion on this written by my former boss, Justice Neil Gorsuch. It's always been the case that under the federal system, that juries have to be unanimous for all essential elements in a case. And the Supreme Court in 2020 in a Louisiana case said that state and local prosecutors also have to have unanimous jury verdicts in order to have a criminal conviction for their state cases. And they didn't do that in this case with this corrupt judge, Juan Merchan, this Biden donor. He made an illegal campaign contribution as a judge to Joe Biden in 2020 that got him reprimanded by the New York court system. We just found out his daughter, Lauren Merchan, is raising millions of dollars off of this unprecedented corrupt prosecution of a former and likely future president of the United States. She's really going to be making a lot of money now that her father delivered this partisan, rigged, and corrupt verdict against President Trump. And it's just, this is completely un-American what President Biden and these Biden Democrats are doing with this Republican-ending lawfare and election interference. It's driven by Biden. We've been talking about this for 23 months now.
Right.
I've predicted all along they're going to find Trump guilty with this rigged, corrupt, partisan New York trial. The only question I have is this judge stupid enough to try to put President Trump in prison? Is this judge stupid enough to even tell President Trump that he can't campaign for the presidency, that he has to report into some dingy third world probation office in New York City instead of being on the campaign trail? Let's just see how stupid this judge is. And I will say this, that this jury verdict today by this Soros-funded Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, this Biden and Obama political operative Matthew Colangelo, this corrupt Biden donor judge whose daughter's raising money off this case, Juan Merchan, this 87% Biden jury pool that was further rigged by bouncing Trump out of the jury, Trump social media followers out of the jury pool, but not Biden social media followers. And then this corrupt judge and prosecutors, these two prosecutors, further rigged this by having this judge instruct the jury that they don't have to unanimously agree that Trump did something wrong. This is not going to get upheld on appeal. They know this. They know that they want Trump to be labeled a convicted felon before November 5th, 2024. They know this won't get resolved on appeal before then. But guess what? The American people see right through this. They are going to elect Trump in a landslide against Biden on November 5th, 2024. This is a Pyrrhic victory for Joe Biden.
It is Article 3 Project founder and the president. It's Mike Davis. Mike, thanks for jumping on live with us during the show. So let me, before we get into the possible, sentencing and all that stuff and what happens next, do we know yet if the jury came back with these verdicts, but they weren't unanimous on individual charges? Because in my 35 years covering law, covering news stories, I've never heard a judge say, 5 of you could find him guilty on something, 3 on something else, 4 on some different thing, and you can call him guilty. I've never heard of that in my life. Do we know the unanimity of the rulings here or the verdicts here or not?
We know that it was not unanimous because the judge instructed them it did not have to be unanimous on what that supposed second crime was that transformed this time-barred bookkeeping misdemeanor into 34 felonies. And that the judge did that on purpose. Look, he's a corrupt judge. He's a partisan judge. He knows that if he did not deliver a guilty verdict against President Trump for Joe Biden, that his adult daughter, Lauren Merchan, who's raising millions of dollars off this case, she's a leading Biden Democrats fundraiser. This judge knew his daughter's fundraising career would be over if he did not deliver this. That's why he had to recuse on this case. That's why even a former federal Clinton judge from the Southern District of New York in New York City went on Caitlin Collins' show on CNN on April 5th and said Judge Juan Merchan had to recuse under New York statute because his adult daughter Lauren Merchan's fundraising business. He didn't recuse. Instead, he retaliated against Trump for raising this with his illegal, unconstitutional gag order. He threatened to put Trump in jail if he mentioned Lauren Merchan's name.
Joining us live, it's Mike Davis, article3project.org. Go there and make sure you go check it out. July 11th is mysteriously close to their RNC. That's when the sentencing is going to happen. How does the appellate process work? Do Trump and his lawyers appeal today, and then he still gets sentenced, but he gets to stay out while they work on the appeal? What are the mechanisms in place now? Does he wait till sentencing before he can appeal? How does it work?
So I'd have to look at this very carefully. The appeal generally happens after the jury convicts, which they did today.
Right.
Then the jury finds guilt. The jury returns the verdict, the finding of guilt, the verdict today. The judge convicts and sentences in July, 4 days before the Republican National Convention. How convenient he set it for that date.
Right.
And then Trump can file appeals after that. He can file appeals to the New York Appellate Division, and then the New York Court of Appeals, which is New York's Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court of the United States. He could also file for federal habeas relief to the Southern District of New York, the Second Circuit, and the Supreme Court of the United States, based upon how Judge Merchan sentences President Trump, if he sentences him to jail, if he sentences him to home confinement. Depending on how he gets sentenced, Trump can seek immediate habeas relief.
It is Mike Davis, Article 3 Project. Mike, I appreciate you spelling that out. And yeah, it's right next to the RNC. I think that he is stupid enough to try to put him in jail. I really do, because he was stupid enough to say you don't have to be unanimous. He was stupid enough to say you can't voir dire potential jurors. He was stupid enough to say you can't have a defense. You can't even object to hearsay. I mean, Judge Judy doesn't take hearsay, and this guy allowed it in this case. So at the end of the day, yes, I think he's stupid enough. But what is the punishment for this guy? You and I agree what he did was completely unethical and illegal. I think a good argument can be made. What happens, though, if those who oversee his court are on the same side as him? Does he just get away scot-free?
Well, that's the problem, is this New York, the entire New York judicial system is corrupted by these partisan Democrats, with very few exceptions. Elise Stefanik has filed a judicial misconduct complaint against Judge Merchan recently because he seems to be the Forrest Gump of this Biden Democrat lawfare and election interference against Trump. He's an acting Supreme Court justice, which is their trial judge in New York. He's really a family court judge, and he just keeps supposedly getting randomly assigned to all these Trump cases. He got randomly assigned to the prior Trump organization case where Judge Merchan sent Trump's 75-year-old CFO to Rikers Island. Judge Merchan's randomly assigned to this current Trump case, and he's randomly assigned to Steve Bannon's case. It doesn't sound random at all, especially when Lauren Merchan's raising millions of dollars off of this Democrat lawfare and election interference.
It is Mike Davis. He's the Article 3 Project founder and president. I really appreciate the time. What literally happens now? Can Trump get on the plane, go to Mar-a-Lago? Does he have to stay in New York until sentencing? What happens in his life? Can he go and campaign this weekend?
It sounds like he can. It sounds like they didn't ask for pre-sentencing restrictions yet. Okay. Who knows if that's going to change, but it's just unbelievable. Look, here's what should happen. When President Trump wins in a landslide on November 5th, 2024, which will now happen, that's guaranteed after this kangaroo verdict. What needs to happen is the Trump 47 Justice Department needs to open a criminal probe immediately on Judge Juan Merchan and Lauren Merchan and Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo and these other Democrat prosecutors and judges and witnesses and operatives who are running this obvious Biden Democrat lawfare and election interference. It's people like Joe Biden, his deputy White House counsel Jonathan Sue, Gary Stern at the National Archives, Jay Bratt, Matthew Colangelo. There are so many people that who could be fact witnesses, at least, in this criminal conspiracy, both inside and outside of government. So like Andrew Weissman outside of government and all these other Democrat operatives who are engaged in this criminal conspiracy to violate President Trump's civil rights under 18 USC 241 and 242, very serious federal civil rights felonies. And they're not only doing it against Trump, they're doing it against his top aides like Peter Navarro, who's in prison right now, Steve Bannon, who's going to prison, Jeff Clark, John Eastman, his attorneys, these January 6th supporters. It is un-American, unacceptable, Republic-ending tactics what these Biden Democrats have done to politicize and weaponize our legal system against Trump, his aides, his lawyers, and his supporters. There must be severe legal, political, and financial consequences come January 20th, 2025.
Mike, thanks so much for jumping in the chair. Let me just get one last quick question, and I appreciate the time. I know you probably have 30 more interviews set up. It's Mike Davis. Go to article3project.org and support everything this guy does. Going forward, and we know this was lawfare. We know they just want to call him a convicted felon and all their campaign ads. That's all this was about. But as far as we're going forward today, we saw the meltdown of the Trump campaign donation site. It literally didn't work for a while when this verdict came out. Do you believe, like I do, that those who are undecided now will have to say, well, geez, I can't not vote for him. They just try to take him out. That tells me they're afraid of him.
I have heard from so many people since this verdict that they are stunned. I don't know why they're stunned. I've been telling them for 23 months that they're going to convict Trump, but they are stunned. They are angry. These are not Trump supporters. Many of these people actually do not like Trump, but they are all in right now because they do not think that these Democrat prosecutors and judges and witnesses and operatives in these Democrat hellholes of New York, D.C., and Atlanta get to decide who is our president. The American people get to decide this, and there's going to be a huge backlash. So I would say to President Biden and his team, this is a Pyrrhic victory for you today because you're going to see President Trump win in a landslide on November 5th.
I think eventually people say, that could be me. And come on, Mike, this guy's he's got the most power on the planet. He's a former president. He's got billions of dollars, his own private jet. He's got Mar-a-Lago. If they could do it to that guy, we have no chance, right?
That's exactly right. They're going after not only Trump, they're not only going after his top aides and his lawyers and his supporters on January 6th, they're going after parents outraged by gender chaos in schools and the resulting rapes in high school bathrooms. They're going after Moms for Liberty. They're going after little old lady Christians praying outside of abortion clinics while Garland and that Justice Department and these Biden Democrats give amnesty to Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, James Biden, every scumbag Biden who's gotten over $20 million in foreign corruption and bribes, except for the 6-year-old granddaughter who they didn't acknowledge because Jill Biden is such a flea bag herself. And then they give amnesty to BLM and Antifa and Hamas and Planned Parenthood and trans terrorists. This is unacceptable, and there's going to be a big legal, political, and financial price that these Biden Democrat goons pay after January 20th, 2025.
Go and support Mike's work at article3project.org. Again, thank you, Mike, for jumping in the chair. Really appreciate your knowledge. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.